Well, folks, this week I've got Maury Micklich with Pro-Gro Agriculture. He's going to join me. We're going to talk about type stuff. Fertilizer is a touch more expensive, so we're going to talk about that. We also have Chuck Penner joining me this week, fresh off the beach. Chuck is going to cover acreage ideas for Canada. We're going to talk about, should we pump the brakes a little bit? Should we slow down when it comes to marketing the 2026 crop? That and so much more right around the corner. Episode 113 of the What the Futures podcast. Hey folks, welcome to the What the Futures podcast, your quick guide to better farming decisions. All right folks, welcome into episode 113 of the What the Futures podcast, of course, recorded each and every week in the UPL studio. And I need to start off here with a disclaimer right off the bat, because my wife looked at me this week and said, "Who's Tony? And why are you wearing that silly hat?" I have to just clarify that no Tonys were hurt in the recording of this week's episode. And Tony at UPL, for those that know, Tony works in marketing at UPL. This was not meant for you. Chantel got my head kind of spinning when I put the hat on, and she said that's a morbid hat, Ryan. Who is Tony and what is going on? Tony, you're safe. This is not a message to you at all. All right, you're good. All right, folks. Again, I hope everyone's having a fantastic week. It's been a wild one. Of course, after putting out last week's episode, we've now have a major conflict in the Middle East. Something that, some folks out there, some analysts, some experts calling the next big, bold, bullish commodity run of our generation. That's not the right way to say it, but the next big one, right? The next big one. Talks of where crude oil is going to go here, talks about how this is going to progress in Iran, across the Middle East, not just Iran. You've got the news pouring in faster than you can update your phone. There's a new headline, a new story, something urgent, and it is, it's a bit of a mess. Now, for me, over here, I obviously on Cup of Coffee on Tuesday, we talked through some of the stuff, but I also just want to remind folks, you don't have to look at all the headlines. You don't have to read every single thing about what's going on. Do as best you can out there, but just remember to bring it back to the farm. Bring it back to your farming operation. It's something that we talked about going all the way back to December of 2025, was just taking advantage of markets. When they give you a reason, when you see that sharp rally and they give you a reason to take a peek at that and take advantage of that, and then when of course they dip and fall off the cliff, to be patient, right? So this is just one of those events that hey, is this the next golden era of commodities? Heck, I don't know. But seeing canola trade over $700, bean oil climbing higher along with crude and heating oil and ultra low sulfur diesel, it's interesting, and it's fun times to see canola over $700. All right, this episode's pretty packed. We got Maury with Pro-Gro joining me. We chat farming, we chat swap maps, efficiencies. Always great and candid conversation with Maury. I also have Chuck Penner, fresh off the beach from Puerto Vallarta. The man, the myth, the legend, stares down the cartel in Puerto Vallarta, enjoys his vacation. Great time on the beach, is what Chuck said. Didn't even notice the smoke around him, and back to tell the tales and survival of Puerto Vallarta. I shouldn't kid, because it was stressful for a lot of people, and obviously a painful situation, but Chuck was there. All right, so we're going to talk acreage numbers. We're going to talk about some of the crappy new crop bids out there and what to do right now if you're looking at planting these crops in 26. What to do. All right. Okay, now I want to get into a quick positive moment here before we get to Maury. And the first week of March for myself and for my family it's always a tough one. It's a tough one if you have followed the show here the last couple of years. My daughter Eva was born March 3rd, 2019, 1:58 a.m. and sadly passed a few hours later that same morning. And so, my experience and my journey through baby loss is, I'm sure you can find it on past episodes, or if you check out Trent Clarenbach's, the episode I'm on with Trent, I talk about it there. It's a week that, Eva is turning 7, would be 7 this week. And it's just one of those complicated weeks. It's one where you sit there and you celebrate 7 years old. And as a family, we decided years ago that we would celebrate Eva's birthday and we would celebrate it as a family. And so we made cupcakes on Sunday. We decorated them all together on Monday. Monday night, we decorated the house with happy birthday. And the kids, just super involved. And as they get older, lots of questions. Will has had questions for a couple of years, but Finn now is at 3 years old. He's got some questions about Eva and his big sister and what's going on. So Eva, looking, taking care of us from up in the stars, as we say to the kids. And this week, we have a cabinet of mementos. If I'm not going to go to great detail in this, but this is the most important stuff in my life. Essentially, is what's in here, because it's what I have. It's what I have left of my, of my daughter, right? So we made a book, our story, Eva's story, in that journey, and so this week we put her stuff on the table and in the book and all that stuff, and the book was gone. The book was gone from the table, and I could just hear in the background, I could hear Willa reading the story. And I look in the other room, and Finn's sitting beside her, and Willa's 5.5. She's starting to pick up reading and stuff, but anyways, this kid is sitting there and she's flipping the pages and telling her little brother, the story of Eva, and Finn's asking all sorts of questions, and Will has got answers. And honestly, I wish I would have been able to record it, but it was pretty special. So we went to the water park, the wave pool on Tuesday. We went out for birthday lunch and we celebrated and it's just a bittersweet week, more bitter than sweet. But again, I put the phone away for the day with everything going on in the world. I messaged the Lunchbox crew and said, hey, this is the story. This is the day. And it's one of very few that I parked the phone, but it's an important one. So park the phone, spent time as a family. And that's one of Eva's gifts to us, is that we, as a family, take time to be with each other and talk about her and celebrate her birthday. So in honor of her, in honor of Eva, I wanted to do something a little bit more this year. This has been on my mind here for quite some time, but we're going to do a little charity auction. It's kind of last minute, and we're going to I'll go over the list here in a second, but we're going to auction off some items over the next week or so, and we're going to send 50% of the monies collected are going to go to the perinatal bereavement program at the Lois Hole Hospital for Women in Edmonton, Alberta. And the other 50% of the funds are going to go to the Briar Patch Community Preschool, where both my kids attend preschool right now. And in a very weird coincidence, The first time that I had, professional counseling after losing Eva is in that space, in that room where my kids go to preschool now. That's where my first counseling session was. So anyways, they've got a few things that they're saving up some money for. I don't know what those are. I will share that as we get going here, but that's what we're going to do. And then for the Lois Hole Hospital for Women, again, every hospital has a version of this, but if you, like many Canadians and folks around the world, but many Canadian families go through and experience baby loss, there are a team, of people that are trained at the hospitals to guide you through this type of journey. In our case, we received, a baby blanket, a little baby hat. We received a teddy bear and just like a box of I don't know if mementos is the right word here, but just items that that you end up cherishing for the rest of your days, because it's what you have, right? So the money collected goes to that program, and it can be as simple as restocking the teddy bears or some of the supplies, and it can be as complex as refurbishing the rooms for the families that are going through those events. There are a couple of different delivery rooms in that hospital that are set aside, that if a family is going through that type of event of suffering a loss, they're decorated a little bit differently. They're set up a little differently. They're larger, and it just gives you a bit more comfort as you're going through that. So funds can go to that in honor of baby Eva. So we're going to do that this week. We've got some hockey tickets, 4 tickets, Edmonton Oilers versus the Anaheim Ducks on March 28th in Edmonton, Alberta. So if you want to take the family to a hockey game, we've got a Lunchbox Crew subscription, 1-year membership, and it comes with the actual steel lunchboxes that actually there's one behind me in the studio. We've got 2 tickets for the Crop Marketing Make Cool conference in Brandon, Manitoba. We've got a curling jersey. Actually, if you remember, the LeBras from Northeast Saskatchewan, they went to the curling trials, came back with a signed extra large jersey. Brad Jacobs, Brett Gallant signed that. And so we're going to auction that off. They sent that in the mail to me as a thank you and said, hey, Ryan, if you want to use this in a fundraiser, go for it. I also have the last hat from last year's fundraiser with the UPL and the CCAW, and a crib board as well that was from Moose Jaw from our event there. So a couple of items. And again, folks, if I appreciate everyone's bids and everyone's efforts in helping me raise a bit of money here, but don't be a stranger. If you have an opportunity, if you've got a couple of bucks this week, you can go to your local community hospital, your local hospital where they deliver babies. They will have a program like this in your local community, and I just encourage you to seek out those folks, and if you have a couple of bucks for them, I'm sure they could use it as well. So thank you so much for listening to my story here as we kick off, get into the episode of this week. And in honor of baby Eva, it just honestly, folks, it just helps. I'll be able to talk about her for another week or two as we go through this, and it's just something you don't get a chance to do as often as you'd think, or as often as you get to when you go through something like this. So I do appreciate that. Now, just to segue out of that, we did launch March 1st. We're doing the hat contest, again, in partnership with UPL and the Canadian Centre for Agricultural Wellbeing. Now, last year's winner was Paisley Boonder. It's well documented. She did a heck of a job. And we're doing it again. We're running it back again. So you can head to ryandenis.ca, go to the website, print off the picture here, basically hard to see with my wonderful bright lights, but we'll get the editors to throw in an image there. But it's basically the hat. You get to design this thing. We're not going to tell you what to do, how to do it. You pick the colors, you pick the design. We're going to narrow that down to 5 after April 11th. We'll do a vote on it. Everyone will get to vote. We'll pick a winner, and then we'll send the design off to Double Portion Supply in Maui, Hawaii, of all places. And they're going to bring that hat to life for us. You can only get it at the UPL booth at Ag in Motion in July. That is it. Those 3 days. That's how you get your hands on that beauty of a hat. All right. Okay. This week's cup of coffee with Quentin from JGL Capital was an absolute blast. Folks, I don't have to tell you, this is the time. If you want to hear somebody cooking, if you want to hear that sizzle on the grill, it's the brokers out there, it's the farm advisors out there, spending every waking hour, every waking moment, cooking up strategies, figuring out how to manage, crop sales in this environment. And Quentin with a couple of dandies in this week's episode. So go and check that out. It's if you can't catch it live, it does get sent out as a podcast and as a YouTube video later on that day. So go check that out. There's some good sizzle in that episode. All right. Well, while I got you on that topic, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And this community grows through you. It grows through you telling your farming friends and neighbors. And I certainly, I do appreciate that. So if you enjoy the work here, then please pass it along. All right, folks, shout out to show sponsor John Deere. John Deere Operations Center is a key part for our farm when we look at, efficiencies, when we look at analysis, going over previous year's results to help influence some better decisions for this next year, monitor job quality and productivity. You can do that in real time. It's just a key tool on our farm operation. So head over to johndeere.ca. You will find more info on John Deere Operations Center. Of course, it is a free-to-use program from John Deere, and anybody can give it a whirl. So go ahead and check that out. All right, let's get into it now with Maury Micklich from Pro-Gro. All right, folks, I've got Maury Micklich joining us here once again from Pro-Gro Agriculture. Maury, it's been a minute. You helped us with some planning back in the fall when I like to get work done. But how's your winter been? How you been keeping?
Good. We're both still standing, so that's good news. You're both back, so that's always good to see. None of us have bit the dust yet, so.
I think last time you were on, you were either wearing a Red Sox jersey or a Blue Jays jersey or something like that. I think that was the last time, hey?
Yeah, no jerseys today. No, the Oilers are not playing good enough for me to justify wearing an Oilers jersey, so.
Well, I surprised myself this morning when I woke up and saw that they won in overtime. That was not the score when I was shutting down last night. So
Typical Oiler fashion.
Yeah. So, you're chatting with farmers, across like north central Alberta, well, maybe even further now since we last spoke. But, how's it been going out there? How's the planning been going? And what themes are you kind of picking up on?
This year is going to be the year where we try and find as many crumbs as we can. It's a year of trying to mitigate that risk. Any unnecessary risk, we want to take that off the table. I wouldn't call it a mindset reset, kind of a tongue twister there.
We'll put that on a t-shirt. Yeah.
But just changing the way a guy maybe thinks a little bit. It's okay, let's slug it on and hope for the best. I don't necessarily know if that would be the best philosophy this year. It's more of a mathematical, okay, where do we want to be dollars per acre? Fields that have consistently underperformed maybe should finally start getting that special treatment, and us being realistic on this particular set of land that we never really have before. So just a bit of a mind shift almost. That's been kind of the big thing this year.
The growers you work with, I'll make the assumption here that they're working with you, so they're quite dialed in. Have you seen like precision, analysis on that quarter by quarter? Like you do. Obviously, you're working with variable rate technology, or you do swap maps. You're out there making sure you put the right stuff at the right spot. Has there been even more focus this winter on that precision, or has it kind of been the same as past years?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that will boil down to just the quality of data the farmer provides himself. So, like, everyone likes to come back to yield data. Yield data is good to ground truth some of this stuff. If you're not calibrating monitors and that sort of thing regularly, maybe isn't the most accurate. If you're not calibrating your moisture, like, pretty tough to get an accurate gauge on what's actually occurring. If your moisture is way out of whack, if your yield is way out of whack and not calibrated, those things help a lot, just to calculate kind of your profit analysis. So say this particular of the field went 50 bushel, this particular part of the field went 35. Well, how much am I in the negative here and how much am I in the positive here? It helps break down the financial aspect of it and sort of ground truth what I'm doing. But for me, for the most part, I'm basing off of, on the VR FERT side, it's where are we likely going to run out of moisture, where just kind of make life easier on the agronomic on the ground side. And at the same time, when all right, this is sandy, if we don't get rain, it's going to cook off. We probably shouldn't be doing the same rate there as we do in some of the better stuff. It just, yeah, there's a lot. Every farm is different. I would say I don't have one single farm that gets treated like the other. Everyone has their own recipe, if you want to call it that. And that's the way it should be. No farm is the same. No land is the same. It's kind of unique.
So, Maury, you like go time for you is like you barely get the combines, cleaned off and put in the shed, and it's go time for you and your organization. I need to ask, like, is it too late now in March? Like, is it already too late if someone wants to work on the VR side and get some efficiencies for 2026? Can they still like reach out to you and try to put a plan together last minute, or are we just kind of past that for the growing or for the year?
We're kind of for spring stuff. I typically, if a guy has never done it or just isn't familiar with the process of what I do or what like the SWOT map process is, I would typically only do a quarter or two just so they can try it and get comfortable.
Sure.
And then make the decision from there. I really do not like it all unless you've been around it. It's not do everything. Usually that doesn't work great. It's more of a try it, feel it out, see what it looks like, and go from there type of thing. So I would maybe do a quarter or two, and that's even that. Like, I really do not like doing spring stuff because I'm like, when I take the mapper out, there's ruts, I get stuck. Like, it just is not great. So it's possible, for sure. Just a little more temperamental.
All right, fair enough. All right. No, now I want to ask, you're really, dialed into the local ag community. You hear a lot of stuff. Like, what do you feel, or do you get the sense that most farms were bought up on FERT before the U.S. attacked Iran here this past weekend? Like, or did you see Monday some scramble out there? And I don't know if that's a fair question to ask you, but I know that you are quite dialed in most days. So, what do you think around that comment?
I would say most, probably 75 to 80% are done, like booked up, done. You always have a certain block that will be spring pick, spring pay, and that's fine. That's just the way it is for some farms, cash flow, whatever. There's no like whatever. That's just the way it is. No one really, like, I was dealing with one guy this morning. He just stopped following after he booked in August. He had just stopped paying attention to what was going on. I was like telling him today, like, urea's 10,050 a ton. Oh, I guess I booked pretty good then. It's like, well, it's kind of funny how some guys just drop off and don't follow it. So I wouldn't say there's a bunch of panic. It's some are actually looking forward to next year.
Okay.
It's say I have a farm who's 3/4 mapped. It's okay, book us in for the last little bit, even though it is like short-term rental or whatever. It's just to try and get ahead and save whatever. If there's room to save, if they can try and save that, everyone's looking forward to that. I would say optimism for the next year is this year is low. I would say next, like looking forward is the same. Everyone is starting to play. Like it's crazy actually, just moving, looking the goalpost into 20. What would that be? 2027.
Yeah, a little more optimism.
Yeah, it's trying to get a plan together. Anyways, like no, realistically, I haven't talked to one guy who's optimistic that we're going to see. Like, yeah, it's the farm. It's not the retail saying it, so I get it. No, like there's not a whole lot of optimism. We'll see urea with a 6. So even if if it's at an 8, like it doesn't take long to start saving money on $800 a ton.
Yeah.
So guys are just looking at that. It's future planning now.
So future planning, expenses staying higher and trying to be as efficient as possible on those acres, looking into 2027. Yeah. I'm feeling a little more optimistic, maybe I'm drinking too much tea here. I don't know what's going on at my house, but I am trying to feel, and I'm feeling more optimistic that margins are going the right way. Maybe I'm a little early, but I don't know. I'm trying to be more optimistic. So there we go.
I hear ya. Yeah.
All right. Anything else going on with Pro-Gro that new from when we chatted? You guys were going hard all winter. Anything new on the business front?
No, still just trying to I'm not trying to be a big thing. I want to treat every customer the same. Everyone gets that same experience. So that is my winner. It is as soon as the sampler stops, it's behind the computer talking with everybody. That's my up till April when I'm delivering everything. That is what it's going to be. So I probably need more help, but just to provide the experience I want everyone to have, it's pretty time consuming. So it's rewarding in the same time. It's just I don't break any ground speed records. It's small shop, like typical small shop experience. Like it takes a bit more time, but at the same time, the service you get makes it worthwhile.
Yep. Yeah. No, I get that for sure. I get that on when working one-on-one with farms, that's certainly appreciated. I was going to ask one more thing. Oh yeah. So now it's like the planning has been in motion all winter, but now you deliver, right? Like you deliver I don't know what the prescriptions, I guess, the magic kind of happens now as people get the 4-wheel drive fueled up and that new John Deere drill out of the shop. Like that's, you get things loaded up.
Depending on brand, like John Deere Seedhawk, or I guess Vaderstad now, the new Borgos, I don't even really have to see the tractor. It's all done over the cloud. I'll just go out and drop off their Bibles, their rate sheets, kind of instructions, that sort of thing. Some other drills you still do have to use the USB, which is fine. I hit every farm physically regardless. It's just to get that Bible, instructions and troubleshooting tips, that sort of thing. And I just like it. Like that's the best part of the job, is going out and seeing everybody and seeing the machinery, working with the machinery. If it wasn't for that, I think I'd have I'm kind of nerdy, whatever, but the social aspect is the best part of the job. So it's good to see everybody. And all that planning, you can see it as soon as it boots up in the monitor and it works. That's okay, all the hard work paid off and it's actually looking like it's going to work.
Relief. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, man, you farm as well. Any big changes for the farm in 2026? I know what crop you really liked last year. I'm assuming those acres stayed in for this year, but any acre changes, anything big happening on the farm for 26?
Going to be a lot of drill cleanings. I think we got 5 or 6 different crops on the go for this coming year. So we're usually pretty flexible on the crop rotation anyways, but barley's come back, oats has come back, lentil acre has grown. My brother seems to have flax on a quarter on paper, so we'll see if that one holds. But
Good.
Just trying to spread that risk out a little bit. Like you look at that wheat dollar, it's like, man, if I can find something to help take something other than canola, I should say, to help take some of that red away, that would help a lot. Because even at you can get 770, 780 now, like off the combine. You still need a pretty strong crop to get that dollar up there to where it needs to be. So spread it around a little bit and see what happens.
I need a lot of crop to make that number work on our farm for sure. So, all right, man. Well, appreciate it. I like the strategy. Spray the field with some different crops, see what happens. And of course, some of them come with some starting points for pricing that maybe aren't terrible that you can get started on some of these crops. Not a bad thing. So awesome, buddy. Well, I appreciate you joining the show this week. When you're out there, keep the retail, keep that fertilizer market in check for us. Make sure you grind them down for us a bit and get these prices lower, because this is baloney. We need to save some money somewhere. So.
This has been a year where I thought I was fairly in tune with all the markets, all the products on the marketplace. It was a rude awakening this year. There's a lot of stuff that's been peddled around that, I have never heard of that before. So it's been quite interesting.
New and improved? Just use this and your problems go away? Yeah.
Rebrands, I would call it. Some have had a strategic rebrand where it's like, what is that? And then you read it up. They just changed the name.
Oh, man. Yeah, everything's out there this year for sure. But all right, man. Well, appreciate you being on the show, and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Maury, for being on this week's episode. For crop marketing, we're actually gonna do a little bit of a change here. I think unless there's like a tremendous amount of uproar, I think eating your veggies is gonna disappear or transform it to something else. All right. I don't know if it's a mix of grain prices, market headlines, and strategy, but I'm rethinking eating your veggies. Again, if you think that eating your veggies should stay as a segment on this show, let me know. But it's been like 2+ years of eating your veggies. And I was thinking the other day, I don't know if I should maybe I should rework that. All right. So that's been on my mind here for March anyway. So let me know. Hit me up in the comments if we should keep that segment. But for this week, for crop marketing, what I'd like to just highlight here, again, number one, I continue to preach until I'm blue in the face that, figuring out strategies, figuring out how you want to tackle your crop marketing this spring, having those strategies that if the market turns on you. Again, it's been a great couple of months here, guys. Like, it's been awesome for canola. Wheat markets are waking up a little bit. We're not that excited about them, but they're waking up. There are things you can do to prepare yourself for something weird happens where the market just falls out, or even strategies where now for me, you break above 700 here and you say, okay, well, I did do some sales the last few weeks. Am I confident enough that I want to go and take on a little bit of a re-ownership type strategy? Am I confident enough to go and say, you know what, maybe this thing does have 20, 30, 40 bucks a ton in it. Or maybe I don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East. I don't know how intense this war is going to get. I don't know what's going to be impacted from shipping corridors or resources, or our country is going to wake up and say, oh man, you know what? Like, we got a major event going on here around the world. Maybe we want to stock up on some stuff. Maybe we want to stock up on some commodities. Maybe we're worried about the flow of traffic and we want to have a little more barley on hand or a little more wheat. Like that would be amazing if we were to see something like that, right? And so you can even look up strategies on those just little ownership type stuff. The other thing too, buying diesel right now. A lot of farms are pulling the trigger on the weekend, on Monday, trying to buy before that big price increase. Maybe you didn't get a chance to do that. Maybe you're staring down $1.35 a liter on diesel instead of 97 cents. So do you buy it? And if you do, if the price goes up, you're fine. You sit there and say, well, thank goodness I bought it. But for some reason, if it drops, what strategy do you have in your hip pocket to execute on if it drops? Because that is the painful stuff. When you buy it expensive and then it drops, or when you sell it cheap and then it goes up, right? So those are strategies that you can look at as well. All right. Now, from a headline perspective here, we're early March. It's all about the Middle East right now. You've got the uncertainty, and you kind of have that initial. I don't know if you guys remember Ukraine, Russia, how you guys felt during that time. I know how I felt. I remember like the sleepless kind of nights watching the social media, trying to get a handle on what was going on. Kind of a similar thing this weekend. Man, it was busy this weekend. I think Lunchbox Crew, we were chatting about this all day Saturday night. I was late and I was like, you know what, guys, I'll do a pod first thing in the morning. And then I gave like a homework list. These are 4 things you need to do. And then we did those 4 on Sunday. And then we had 4 other, some were a duplicate of Sunday, but a couple new things to tackle on Monday as well. So anyways, it was a busy weekend, lots going on. We don't know, right? We don't know where this is all going. But you've got a little bit of a pullback here. Maybe not a pullback, but certainly prices weren't as exciting as I record this Wednesday evening as they were earlier in the week. And then what's next? Is this a softening for a few weeks? Does the war get more intense? And then we see it spike back up? Yeah, some people are speculating that this is a very normal pattern. When these events break out, there should be a little softening here, and then it gets even wilder. Again, folks, I wish I had the answers. But, you can do yourself a lot of, help yourself out a lot by just figuring out your strategies now in both situations. How to play defense if this thing starts to pull back, how to remain on the offense, on the offensive side of the ball, per se, if this thing finds even more strength to it. Yeah. All right, folks, let's get into it here. Again, fresh off the beach. I believe Chuck said he crushed 4 books on the beach. And I did ask if they were Archie comic books, and he said no. So I didn't actually get the titles of those books, but I will try to the next time we chat. So here it is, my interview with Chuck Penner of LeftField Commodities. Chuck Penner with LeftField Commodities joins us here once again on the What the Futures podcast. Chuck, welcome back from vacation.
Well, it's good to be home, sort of.
Yep.
Came home, had to do some snow blowing and things like that. But yeah, that's not bad. But it is good to be back again. We were in Puerto Vallarta, and close to it anyway, and realized how distorted the media and social media both are, or how deliberately misleading. Not just they get the story wrong, but they know they're anyway. Whatever. That's.
So what you're saying,
here nor there, we're safe and sound, dodged the bullets, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So you were in Puerto Vallarta when things got exciting, and you're here to tell the story. You're here to live another day. I could
tell you stories, Ryan. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
How we lay on the beach and didn't hear a thing, and yeah.
Well, it's good, Chuck. That's good. Nice that you got away, and probably a little quieter on resort for you. Did you guys kind of have the whole place to yourselves, or?
Yeah, it got pretty empty by the end. I guess lots of people canceled, and that's just that's what it is. But I feel bad for the workers there, and that's their livelihood, and they're getting their shifts cut and things like that. So that was to me was the biggest issue with the whole thing. Yeah.
We took a peek to see, because we heard part of Puerto Vallarta was on sale. So we took a peek to see if we should head down there right away. So
I bet your real estate's getting a little cheaper too. So if you want to invest,
tight window to do this, but let's go. You bet. We've got lots going on in the world right now. We've had a rally in a lot of our commodities before even this new war on Iran started this last weekend. I guess, is there anything kind of catching your attention as we, start the month of March here when looking at specialty crops or anything in general?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a number of things going on, and I think canola has probably been the biggest beneficiary. Partly due to oil prices going up and stuff like that. Although that link is, some people think it's a real strong link. Others not so much. We saw the bigger jump, I think, when China confirmed that the lower tariffs on canola seed were happening. That certainly helped the picture. One thing that I've noticed, just as a bit of a because we track the trade of canola oil and canola meal and things like that, and then we track the production of it as well to what we're putting out from Canadian crushers and so on. And I've noticed that in the last, this year so far for sure, that the percentage of oil and meal that we're using domestically has gone up. And I think that's probably partly a pricing related thing. If it's harder to find a home for your canola meal, you discount it, and so then the domestic feeders and stuff like that will start using canola meal more, that sort of thing. Whether that sticks or not, once now that we have the trade lanes open again and that sort of thing, whether that sticks or not, that's going to be kind of a bit of an interesting thing. But we'll see whether we're using 35% of our canola oil production domestically so far in 25, 26. And that's up from probably about 25%. So that's a real change. And meal, it's lower, but it has also increased as well too. So that would be great. I mean, that's something that the Canola Council has been working on for decades, is to increase domestic consumption. So, so that's a positive thing. But yeah, we'll see how those things change, especially now that we can ship more readily to China and so on and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, so Friday you're on the beach, but Friday we get word that China's lifting the tariff on peas, and canola meal I think was in that one, and I don't know, some seafood as well, lobster maybe, I can't remember. And then Saturday morning the canola seed one gets reduced to 14.9%. But how long is this for? Is this I read 5 years on one report, and then I also read 9 months.
I think on the meal and the peas and things like that, that's to the end of 2026.
Okay.
And for the seed, that's the one that I think is the 5-year deal. And to be clear, like there is a 9% import tariff on, that's been there, that applies to everybody. So the difference for Canadian canola seed, I think, is 6% compared.
Oh, okay.
But that's not enough to really get in the way of trade or things like that. So yeah, those are positive things. And even the 9-month thing for, the 2026 thing for meal and peas and things like that, I think that's kind of a bit of a twist or a bit of an influence to say, Mark Carney better not get too uppity in the next while, and then we'll extend it. But just a bit of a, keep your elbows down when it comes to China, and then we'll extend it type of thing.
Just a quick aside. So I took my kids to this monster truck thing on Sunday, and this poor fellow from the U.S., his monster truck is called Elbows Up, and he's from Phoenix, Arizona. And he's driving this truck, and I got there and I'm like, Mark Carney has a monster truck? I'm like, and then they introduced him and everything. I'm like, oh, this poor guy he's elbows up all the time. But I think maybe that's where Carney got it from. Maybe he saw that same truck and was like, that's a great one, I'm going to use that. But
I thought I saw him at the last event there. Yeah.
All right, so we've got a very intense situation that's developed in the Middle East. We've got I can't figure out who's all getting bombed and who is not. It's very hectic over there. Is there any concern in this chaos, for specialty crops? Is there any concern that moving lentils or peas to that region could be a worry or delayed.
Well, I think that is a real concern. One of the new entrants, or not one of the countries that's entered the special crop, the pulse business in a bigger way in the last, I'm going to say 2 to 3 years, has been UAE, and so that would probably be the most concerning with respect to shipping costs, even insurance costs of getting the product there, those types of things. I think that one is one that could be affected by this more so than Turkey isn't really part of. It's still a bit outside that scope, although you never know how big this thing could get, to things like that. Other countries in like Egypt and whatever, so far again are outside of that fray. So I think right now it might be very specific and cause delays for sure. But sometimes those kind of things also, then you just redirect the ship to some other destination, and you still make it work, and that type of thing. But there is a risk, certainly, of that getting even broader and so on. But yeah, we hope that it won't, that there will be some sort of resolution, whether it's a forced resolution or something like that. But we'll see. I mean, the thing is that you have these predictions. How long is it going to last? Well, nobody knows. It could, all of a sudden you could have that Iranian government just capitulating and just say, okay, we're done. And then everything quiets down again very quickly. So there's just no way of predicting.
Yeah, and I believe I read this morning within Iran, they're electing a new leader, or putting a new leader in place here. Obviously, that's going to have an impact on, who knows, that person may come in and say, okay, this is chaos. Let's just shut everything down here and comply, or let's ramp up. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I know how important that shipping lane is, and you can see it. Like, you can see it in, comments about, the U.S. will insure the vessels, or we will escort the vessels. Like, it's so important that they're going to try to get that that path, that seaway, or that area open as fast as they can, because it's such a big impact. So I
mean, for Canadian crops, not as much. I remember when there were previous disruptions to the trade there and things like that. Again, a few destinations, but Canadian crops generally don't go that way. But what it could do is it affect shipments, exports from Russia, Ukraine, whatever, because they do use that Strait of Hormuz much more heavily for their getting their products out. So, in some ways, if this were to continue, could actually be helpful for Canadian ag. But you don't want to profit at the expense of someone else's misery, kind of thing. Well, yeah.
We all take turns. We tend to all take turns somehow, in some way. But all right, let's switch gears now to StatsCan and acreage numbers. Now, the StatsCan report, we're recording this on Wednesday. StatsCan's coming out Thursday morning, but this episode won't go till Friday. So just be cautious, Chuck. We're going to be after the StatsCan. So if you make some bold predictions, it'll verify right away. Anyways, what are you looking towards? General comments, specialty crops, anything kind of stand out?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I would say, my first disclaimer, let's put it that way, is that the StatsCan numbers are based on a survey that was done of farmers in December. And you think about what the situation was like in December, and what was going on, what wasn't going on, all of those kind of things. And things have certainly changed since then. For some of the crops, like wheat and durum, and, that the markets really haven't gone anywhere. So that's still, that part hasn't changed all that much. But canola certainly has, and also more certainty with respect to trade. With with China and especially, and even a bit more certainty with respect to U.S. biofuel policy, those kind of things. It puts a bit of a glow or a gloss on the canola market. Mm-hmm. The barley market has continued to firm up, and so that's a positive thing as well.
I call it like kind of hot. Like the barley market to me, like, if we're looking at how everything else is so quiet, it's hot, that barley market.
Yeah. And even peas. I mean,
Yep.
again, the prices haven't taken off, but there is at least that certainty with respect to Chinese trade and so on. So if you're thinking about the 26 crop, okay, you already know that China is going to be in the market for the fall shipping program and all of those kind of things. Now, I would also have to add, Ryan, that some of these moves are seasonal in nature.
What?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Chuck.
Brand new concept. Yeah.
All right, hot off the press. So give it to us.
I mean, the move in canola is faster and sharper than we would have expected based on what was happening previously. But some of this stuff is just happening normally. So anyway, so those kind of price moves have been happening, and trade news has become brighter, all of that kind of stuff since the December survey was taken. So that said, our guesses were probably at the higher end of the trade for canola and for barley and so on. So we were already kind of leaning in that direction. So those ones I think that's pretty commonly held already, is that acreage of those two crops, are going to be up. Peas may not be, will be down, but not as much as maybe it would have looked like earlier, because again, there's a little more certainty and that sort of thing about that trade. But there's going to be shifts even within the market. So for example, even if lentil acres are down a little bit, or you might see red lentil acres actually increasing, and then greens dropping, which they should, which hopefully they will. So you'll see those kind of shifts, because even if you look at red lentil prices and green lentil prices in the last month or so, and I hate doing this, or I hate it when people do this, but when they do the hindsight thing and say, oh, see, I told you I was gonna. Well, I've been saying for months that red lentils have more upside potential than greens. And
I could dig in the archives and probably pull a clip or two.
There you go. But anyway, so that seems to be happening now, and for a few reasons. But so the red lentils you could see more acreage there, and hopefully less greens. Oat acreage is going to drop, and
what?
That's one that could get really interesting if acres drop. Like if you're a contrarian, that might be one you want to look at to say, if everybody else is getting out of oats, and we know there's a certain amount of steady demand from the U.S. and maybe from others, and if you, so that's one that has a bit of interesting take on it. The one thing though that when we were running our numbers and putting in these acreage changes, and we also realized that crop rotations are a lot stickier than analysts like us would like to believe, and we like to everybody's going to be doing this and nobody's going to be growing that. And,
these massive swings, dream up these massive swings.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
But anyway, so we talk about that. But one of the things when we were working through all of our numbers and things like that, if we just drop back to average yields, there's going to be a bunch of balance sheet spread like S&Ds for a bunch of crops that are going to get to the snug side next year. So
anything
for some
stand
of them,
out in that list?
Well, I think oats might be one of those.
There you go. Yeah.
Lower acres and drop back to average yields or something like that. I mean, we have no idea what yields are going to be, but right now we do need them to be big. So let's just make the highest odds are around average, right? That's your best odds, is an average type of a yield. But even canola could get snug by later into next year. Like the pulses, and again, it'll vary within the various lentils and peas, and so on. Those are going to take a bit longer to work down, but especially green lentils, green peas, like those ones are going to take longer to draw those supplies down. But yeah, there's a number of them that could get tight going into next year. Snug. I won't get wild and crazy. I won't say tight. I'll say snug.
No, we'll check the weather in July, and then you can say tight
for sure.
Well, I think even within that here, I'm with you on the canola and the barley. And like, I believe that was solid. When we were sitting in Moose Jaw in early December, like to me, that was already kind of solidified. And then the markets found a better, reason to solidify that even more for those higher acres. I see a little change in like yellow pea acres climbing now because those bids are getting to a spot that are, especially compared to a spring wheat, are attractive. But the one thing here that's bugging me, Chuck, and I need the green pea market to rally, but I got offered the same price per bushel for new crop green peas and yellow peas. And I was like, no, you've made a mistake. This is not the right, like I'm talking about green peas here. And they're like, no, that is the offer for new crop green peas. What's going on here? What's wrong with my green peas?
Well, relatively speaking, those supplies are heavier because in 2025, we had lots of contracting of maples and of greens, and rightfully so. And so the production responded and so on. I mean, one of the things that troubles me a little bit is the fact that there are still companies that are not issuing new crop bids at all for some of the special crops. Yeah. Even Durham, like it's really quiet new crop wise. Mm-hmm. But what that tells me, if you dial forward, when we looked at seasonal tendencies for new crop bids, this is a year where, like, if you're looking ahead to 26, 27, and you're thinking supplies are going to get lower than they are now for sure, it's not the type of year where you want to be new crop or contracting new crop heavily.
As a
certainly
farmer.
Do some. But don't go as heavy. I would say, it's the type of year if you're thinking supplies are going to get snugger into next year. Like the years when we did we did our analysis of how new crop bids move. If you can kind of see that the market might get less heavy in the next year, you want to lighten up a little bit with your new crop contracting. And I know that's the risk management people, would tell me to shut up about that. But it's the way that the markets tend to move, and that's intuitive. Farmers know that and that sort of thing. But anyway, it's just interesting.
To add to that, Chuck, what I find fascinating, like if you were on the buy side of this equation, like wouldn't you be like pounding the drum out there with your new crop low ball price, like trying to, but we're not really seeing that either. Like we're not seeing like the story to convince farmers like, hey, if you plant this, you might produce more of it and the price is going lower. Like this, as a buyer, you'd be saying, hey, I want to own this stuff, right?
And so prices. If buyers have less coverage as you get further into it, I mean, even the other thing that we've done when we've looked at new crop seasonals, like from the kind of January to June or January to July kind of time frame, pretty consistently those prices, your worst new crop bids are in January, and your best ones are in May, June. So the new crop bids, for some crops they follow the regular seasonal move, but they also on average, those new crop bids just get better and better the further you go into it. And if buyers don't have a lot of coverage, they may have to get more aggressive later in the contracting season, like in, May, June kind of time frame. So again, it's, I wouldn't be rushing out to pick off these bids right now. And for canola, like the new crop basis is still just
horrible. And I talked to a farmer the other day, and he went to his 2 local grain companies in town, and he said, I would just like to price the futures. I'd like to leave the basis open. Mm-hmm. And you know what they told him? They said, we've only done that. This guy's been working there for like 8 years, this buyer. And he said, I've only done that twice in my life where a farmer has locked in futures and left basis open. Like, I spilled a cup of coffee on myself Tuesday on the live show. Like I was ready to do that again when I heard that. Like, insane. And I was looking at one of our contracts. We had a target in for new crop, and I was like, wait a second. I was like putting the information in. I'm like, guys, no more of this. No more of this. Futures only, guys. Like that was a minus 66, guys. Let's pump the brakes here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will say though, Chuck, like on our farm today, canola pays the bills.
Yeah.
And so we have been very proactive on hedging and protecting. We got some upside. It can go up, but we've been covering our butts on the downside.
Yep. Yeah, as long as you got that upside potential, then then go at it for sure. But for other crops, you don't have that option.
We've seen in Alberta, malt barley prices have climbed 30 cents a bushel in the last couple of weeks here. We've seen feed barley definitely holding steady, maybe up a little bit as well for new crop. We've seen a small little tiny gain in oats, but not enough there. Things are coming. I saw wheat basis improve a little bit, which is one of my concerns this fall, is that wheat basis not getting as sweet as it's been, but I've been wrong on that one. So hopefully I continue to be wrong and it gets better. Yellow pea bids have climbed for new crop. It's starting to feel better. And I know that, we did a poll here and the negativity, the doom with the higher diesel prices, the higher fertilizer prices, it's real. Survey, 60% of people said, margins are sunk for 2026. And I sit here feeling the most optimistic that I've felt all year. And I think I'm on record a few weeks ago saying I was already feeling optimistic. I'm feeling pretty good. Like, what's wrong with me?
No, I think there would be a very interesting study to do is to track farmers' mood, sentiment, whatever you want to call it, and see whether there's a seasonal nature to that as well.
That's your next chapter.
When you're swirling the bowl and the toilet bowl and that kind of thing, the only thing you can do is look up and that's the only and it's not even that dire, I would say. It's just it has been difficult, but that's what markets do, is the low prices discourage production, discourage acreage, whatever, and then you end up coming out the other side at some point. For things like wheat, it's been a long low, but even that isn't unusual. Like that's a fairly typical response in the wheat market, is that those lows can last 2-3 years, and then you start to climb.
And you have to be sharp within those, because the gains sometimes are 30 cents and you're like, that's nothing. Canola just moved $1, but that might be it on the wheat side. So,
you can't wait 2 to 3 years to sell your wheat. I get that. Yeah.
All right. I did have one question come in from Kyle about canary seed. And he did submit this for the Tuesday show, but with Iran, we did skip over it. Kyle's looking for some insight over the next couple months here. So March, April, is there an opportunity for canary seed to rally prior to the start or the momentum of planting this year's crop?
I mentioned that some of these crops or a lot of these crops are going to be, with average yields, will be looking a little bit tighter next year. Canary seed is not one of those. It's one where, if you get a half a cent or a cent, like, I think that's beyond where we are right now. I think that's the most you can expect. And it might be somebody who needs a couple 100 tons to fill a train or some containers or whatever. Those are the kind of opportunities. There is a lot of canary seed out there. And even for 26, 27, I'm really hoping acreage drops hard, because it needs to. Even if you come back down to average yields, there's still a lot of canary seed for 26, 27 as well. So, the next few months, again, sometimes we get a vessel, a bulk shipment out of Thunder Bay, and I'm not sure where Kyle is at, where I'm guessing canary seed grower, probably Saskatchewan.
I don't know where in Sask, but yeah.
But anyway, so every so often you'll get those, and it tends to be Viterra that does those kind of, they call it a grocery boat. There's often flax, canary, sometimes some mustard goes on it as well too. And then, when they assemble what they need for that, then you might have a bit of a bump in bids. But there is so much canary seed out there that, like, if they bump it a half a cent a pound or a full cent a pound, they're going to have more canary seed than they know what to do with. Part of it is so much of that canary seed, people still have 40 cents in their expectations. So that's not going to come to market, but there is enough out there. And especially for the guys that had big yields, they yielded even at, 19, 20 cents for canary seed. Like, even the canary seed was profitable this year just based on the big yields that they had. So there's enough people out there that will sell at those low prices that I don't think there's, especially in the next few months, like a max of a cent. And it's going to be pretty fleeting. Those opportunities pretty fleeting. So it depends what his expectations, or even if you want 21, 22 cents, I don't think that's in the works. And it may not be until well into the second half of 26, 27. Like, it's just very oversupplied. So I don't know how many other ways I could say the same thing, but it's heavy.
Well, I'll try to get the editor to turn that into the opposite of what you just said, so you can feel both.
Sorry if I was being too nuanced there.
All right, Chuck. Well, I appreciate you being on the show this week. Are you on the road at all? You've been in front of a pile of farmers this winter? Anything else going on?
Yeah, I'm going to Toronto next week. There's a big convention out there that I've gone to a few times, and so if people have suggestions for what you'd like me to tell the Eastern Canadian folks, fire them my way. That's not a problem. And then I'm actually going down the week after. I'm actually making a bit of a road trip down into Plentywood, Montana.
Okay.
So there's a farmer meeting down there, and I don't know, that should be fun. Hopefully they don't ask me to get political and whatever, but run me out of town.
Elbows up. Yep.
Yeah, maybe I should do that just for a kick. Anyway,
I'll send you the picture of the elbows up monster truck.
Okay.
So I did take a picture for you there. Awesome. All right, and one last thing, actually, we chatted with you before the workshop in Brandon that you had, obviously very well attended, but what did you learn out of those two workshops earlier this year that you put on?
Yeah, we did them. We did one in Saskatoon and in Brandon, and then we also did a slightly shorter one in Winnipeg at Crop Connect show. And I would say, like, this, a lot of it was around seasonals and stuff like that. And again, it's not a revelation. People know generally that prices do that. But then when you start to quantify it, and you show that, and we did these thought experiments. So, if you sold everything in the months of its seasonal high, for durum, it's November, and oats, it's November, and canola, and a lot of things, it's May kind of time frame and that sort of thing. And if you're a 4,000 or 5,000 acre farmer and that type of thing, what difference that would make out of the last 9 or 10 years, you would do better doing that than spreading out your sales through the year. And so, but when you start to add it up, like, it turns into real money. And now we're not advocating that everybody just, put all their chips on black or that sort of thing. But, like, there's real money there. The one thing that we learned we need to do more work on is separating seasonals for some crops into futures and basis. There's a real interest, again, for, like, when do you lock in the basis? When do you lock in futures and that sort of thing for some of those crops? So there was more interest in that. So we need to do more work in that way. So it's, but yeah, there's a lot of, I think good feedback that we got from that, and
good.
Lots more to do.
Awesome. So we can look forward to another round of those sessions next winter. You thinking?
I think so. Yeah. I think we'll give it another go and see how it goes. Yeah. All
right. Sounds good, Chuck. Where can people find you if they're looking for more information on specialty crops or all of the 16, 18, 20 crops that you cover?
Yeah, you can go to the website, leftfieldcr.com, and we really tell people, like, please do the free trial first, because we don't do recommendations. There's just John and myself that work. So we don't have time to craft recommendations for everybody and all of that kind of stuff. But we love talking to people if they want, whatever. They can go there, get the free trial first. Because we're not everybody's favorite flavor, give us a try.
Awesome. Sounds good, Chuck. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch up real soon.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, folks. So, I talk on the show about Brett Young, and I talk about canola seed. That's how we partner with Brett Young on the Denis farm. But we can't forget that Brett Young has an entire portfolio of things. One of that being forage. All right, forage seed. And they've got a promo going on right now, or actually a bit of a early book deadline of March 20th, 2026. This is to get the best seed selection and the best discounts for the 2026 growing season. Of course, don't forget there is a forage establishment guarantee. You got to sign up by April 1st for 100% coverage. So don't forget about that if you're going to be planting forages here in 2026. A couple of key deadlines here with Brett Young. Of course, you can get more of those details at brettyoung.ca.
Alrighty, folks. Well, I think we kind of got through it. Hey, yeah, there we go. Looking at my show notes. Yeah, feeling pretty good. All right, guys. Well, I do appreciate you hanging out this week. Send in your thoughts, your questions, your comments. Ryan at whatthefuturespodcast.ca. I do have a couple spots in the Lunchbox crew. Again, there's no pressure on my end, but there's a couple spots there. And if you want those details, ryandenis.ca. That's where you can get information on the conference, on Lunchbox crew. I do work one-on-one with some farms. I got an email from Brock out of Birch Hills here over the last couple days ago, just chatting about one-on-one stuff, consulting stuff. I don't have a lot of capacity for that right at this moment, but certainly willing to have a conversation. Still got to get back to Tony and David as well. But yeah, I take those very seriously. So I don't move very, very fast on those at times. But anyways, there you go. Yeah, I guess if you're looking for a deal on Lunchbox Crew, that auction item, we're going to run that until probably, it'll be after next week's episode. So probably run that to like the 14th, something like that, March 14th. So do appreciate everyone that puts a bid out on that or supports their local perinatal bereavement programs. So if you found this episode useful, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. That's how this show grows. Prices may change, strategy may change by the time we get this recording out. So make sure you consult with the professionals. And if I can, for the dedicated listener, you've made it to the end of the show. And I don't know if this is going to be a useful tip for you or not. But if you're sitting there saying, man, I want to protect canola prices, but I don't know. I don't have a brokerage account, or I don't know how to do this, or I'm looking for alternative strategies. If you just have a moment, you reach out to like Cargill or Bunge and ask them about put options or a no price established option. We did this last year. We secured like 680, 685. We did a couple of 700s. Those were just put options with no basis, no futures. Once this was before harvest. Once we finished harvest, submitted our yield, we actually reduced our contracts, and then we established basis at that time, and then we priced futures in a separate move. But we ended up selling those puts down when the market right before Christmas got to like around the $600 level. And the cool thing was we had downside protection, but we were able to not be subject to a buyout. We were able to sit there and tweak it to our bushels. The caveat here is that if you produce the crop, you do have to bring those bushels in on those contracts. But if you don't produce it, it was a nice little peace of mind for us. And in the couple farms last year, they, within the Camrose Cargill vicinity, that's where the canola is going anyway. Think about it. If you're in Clavette or Regina or a Bunge has these types of scenarios as well. Thanks for hanging in to the end of the episode. Take a look at those guys. It might be something that you want to consider. Imagine this thing goes up another buck a bushel or two. Might be something you want to take a peek at. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Tuesday on Cup of Coffee, the live show. I hope you guys are enjoying that one. For the What the Futures podcast, my name is Ryan. And hey, I'm out of here.